Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All Van All Day podcast. I'm your host, Tom Van, and on today's episode, we have Rozy in the house.
Yep, just like Fergie, just one name, Rozy.
Actually, you want to say your full name?
Yeah, so my full name, I get why you wouldn't want to say it. So my full name is Mike Rozelski, little like the guy from Monsters
Inc.
Yeah. But the last name's spelled pretty different. Good old Polish last name.
It is so difficult. Like that's why I call you Rozy, because it's just way easier. And then when I first heard your name, I was like, wait, is it like that guy from like Monsters Inc? And then that's where everyone like got it from. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then growing up, obviously, anyone else that's been a Mike knows that there's like 100 Mikes in every class you're in. So I had to become Rozy, and that was
and then it just like stuck with you.
Yeah, stuck with me. Yeah.
How you been?
Pretty good.
I haven't seen you since college graduation.
Yeah, it's just been nice to be back in Massachusetts. I did a couple years of school out at Notre Dame in Indiana, so it's nice to be home.
How
see all
was
my
that,
buddies.
dude? That must have been wild out there.
It was. I just remember the biggest things like the football team there is really big, and I remember the first game I went to, I didn't know anybody, so I was just kind of biking around tailgates trying to see if I could like find a familiar face or someone to tailgate with. And this guy who's like the CEO of Deloitte had a tailgate.
Whoa.
And he was offering like me and my like friends like tequila shots and stuff, all that stuff. And like I was so bombed. I remember we were playing Temple. I don't remember a snap of the game.
Oh,
I'm surprised they let me in the stadium.
Yeah.
But it was a good time out there.
Because like that transition from so we both went to Stonehill College, and that's a smaller, college, and then that transition from small all the way to Notre Dame, right?
Yeah. So Stonehill's, when we were there, it was 2,000, 2,500. Undergrad. Now they have the post-grad stuff. But and then Notre Dame's like probably close to 10,000 undergrad.
Just way more. Like you're even a smaller ant in that big setting, right?
Yeah, and the other thing too is like at Stonehill, you're kind of near the Boston area, and that's like you're somewhat near the city, I guess. But like Notre Dame, like South Bend is in the middle of nowhere, so it's like you are the city. Notre Dame is like So to South Bend, there's a few ways you can get there, but none of them are efficient. So like you can take a 14-hour drive from Massachusetts, which I've done twice. It's a huge pain.
Yeah.
But the thing is the only other option is really to fly to O'Hare, and that's still like a 2-hour car ride or a 3.5-hour bus ride from my school. So it's like it still ends up being like a 10-hour day. And then there's a small regional airport in South Bend, but no direct flights to Logan. You have to fly to Newark, New Jersey, and drive.
Dude.
So it's like there's no good way to get there. You're really in the middle of nowhere, and like there is Notre Dame. That's it.
Okay, so if you don't even want to, sleep, breathe, eat Notre Dame, what do you do outside of that?
I mean, there are some nightclubs because obviously they can make the money from. The other thing too is there are like there's I think 2 smaller schools. So there's St. Mary's is an all-girls school right across the street from Notre Dame, and then there's a Holy Cross College, kind of like there's one around here, right across the street, and that's co-ed. So they have like nightclubs because they can get business, but nothing like too big. I mean, honestly, there's around the South Bend area, I mean, there's movie theaters, bowling alleys,
so you could compare it to what's another good school, Syracuse, right?
Yeah.
Syracuse is in the middle of nowhere, and you literally have to live, eat, breathe Syracuse.
Yeah, and it's like even Wrigley Field, if you want to go to a Cubs game's like 2 hours away, but there is like a South Bend Cubs, like a AAA team. You can go to like their games. So, but
do you have one, like, I wouldn't say, well, one of many like fond like what's one memory that sticks out to you from Notre Dame that doesn't involve obviously football, because I think football is like the main thing.
Well, I mean, my senior year we were 12-0. It's like a special thing to be a part of. But so I played ultimate frisbee in college, and when I went to Notre Dame, I was gonna quit. I was gonna just give it up because I was just like, I don't want to put in the effort or anything. But I got there and I realized I had like no friends. I didn't know anybody. Even the transfers from Stonehill with me, we didn't know each other all that well. So I was like, okay, I'll get involved in this because it'll help me make some friends, some connections, and everything.
Yeah.
And Yeah, our first year we went to like the regional finals. We were like, 2 points away from going to nationals.
Whoa.
And, that's all like ESPN3 and cool stuff. So, being a part of, the disc team there in the community, the parties were a ton of fun.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
But yeah, no, I think just like being a part of the disc team there was really cool. And yeah, I mean, besides the football team, that was probably like, my favorite part of that school.
What were you studying?
Yeah, so at Stonehill, I was a physics major. When I went to Notre Dame, I was majoring in mechanical engineering. So the fun stuff, really.
Oh, God, wait. I feel like I can talk about this now because it's been years, but remember, because at Stonehill, we were in the same comp sci class, dude.
We were.
All right, ready?
Dude,
we're about to talk about the. Wait, did I talk about it with anybody else? Oh no, so the cheating scandal.
Yeah,
that's what I'm calling it. Yeah.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the cheating scandal, and I know
thing.
Connor remembers that too because obviously Connor and I were roommates freshman year. But yeah, so the cheating scandal, for anybody that's listening and that just knows me, I've talked about this maybe a couple of times, but yeah, so I was in a comp sci class with Rozy. And, our professor, I just hate him with my life. It's just, he was not a great professor. Or just like, I don't know, he just had I don't know, how would you describe him?
For me, yeah, so I mean, for me, I've had a lot of teachers that are like, it's difficult to learn from them. Like they assume you have more base knowledge coming into a class, so they start going too fast and you're behind in the first week. And like, I've had plenty of professors. I can deal with most of them, but like this guy was also really arrogant outside of class, and that was kind of like one thing that because I don't mind if a teacher and me aren't clicking and I'm not understanding the material and stuff, I can put that aside if they're a good guy, if I can go to their office and, they're a good guy. He just rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. Yep. I gotta say, I still learned a whole lot from him.
Oh, yeah,
so
of course.
I give him a ton of credit.
Yeah, I give him credit for
he's really
being...
not the worst teacher in the world or anything. I mean, he
is...
taught us a lot, but I mean, it was like boot camp, his class.
Yes,
man.
There we go. That's a good comparison. I think it was boot camp, and he just didn't want to make you want to learn, like, coding, right? Like, and the thing is, here's another example, too. Like, he literally tried to force, I don't want to say his name, but, like, another student to change his major junior year to something else because he didn't think he was good enough to finish his degree. I was like, dude, he's already so deep into his degree. Like, why would you want him to change? And he was his advisor, so he had no choice but to talk to him. But obviously, he finished his degree, in comp sci, blah blah blah. But it just sucks that when your professor has no faith in you, right?
Yeah,
just has no faith in that you could finish your degree in that major, and they want you to change.
Yeah, and I mean, advisors are so important in college because, I mean, going from school to school, I've had a handful of advisors, and the difference between a good advisor and a bad one can be worse than having just a good or a bad professor,
Right, yeah, because they're your anchor.
Yeah, I mean, they really are. They're picking your classes with you. They're guiding your career path. They can even be helpful in job searching after college and what you're going to be doing then. So, the advisors, especially if you have a guy as an advisor you don't like, that's a struggle. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, and so now going back to the whole scandal. So Roz and I were in the same comp sci class, and we had this coding. I think it was a homework. You know how dumb this sounds? Like, it was just a homework assignment, right? So it was a coding homework assignment, and another one of our classmates. It was me and him, right? And we were in the library doing our homework. Well, no, he was doing his homework because I finished my coding assignment, right? And he was coding as well. And he just asked me to, like, oh, can you throw me some ideas of how to solve this, right? So I didn't give him any lines of code, right? So I know the cheating. Well, there's a thin line between crossing line of you're giving somebody else code to like for it or not. But I didn't give him any lines of code, right? I just gave him some explanation on like how to like solve it, like, oh, you could do it this way, blah, blah, blah. And then he coded it, right? And then the next day when we like passed it all in, our professor, he comes up to us and he's like, oh, can I talk to you guys in my office? And he's like, yeah, you guys have the exact same code. And I was like, okay, well, like I didn't have my laptop on me. So like it didn't make sense. So like, and like I didn't have like anything on me. So how can I give him my exact line of code? Because when you solve a problem, you can solve it as many ways as you can, right? Yeah. So he's like, yeah, you guys have the exact same code. And then I guess, another backstory is like, beforehand I was involved in like another quote unquote like cheating thing because like, we didn't know at that time, but it was me and like, remember like the other kids too? Yeah. So it was like us four and we accidentally shared one
That's
line
the
of
one
code.
I thought you were talking about.
Oh,
the
no,
one
dude.
from before.
No,
We're
no,
just
no,
talking
no.
about the next one.
No,
yeah.
we were talking about the next one. So like
Yeah.
the one before, we says, "Oh, we accidentally shared a line of code, but we didn't know because it was the beginning of the semester." He's like, "Oh, this counts as cheating." I was like, "Oh, okay." And we signed a piece of paper saying, "Okay, we won't do it again because we're not that dumb."
Well, I mean, keep in mind too, like, I mean, not a lot of kids do comp sci in high school. At least I didn't.
No,
I
didn't
thought
either.
comp sci. I like laugh at me. Like, it sounds so stupid now. I literally thought it was CAD. Like, I remember I did like CAD
Oh,
modeling in
yeah,
high
yeah.
school, and when I saw like computer science, I was like, oh, it's probably like something like that. So with no prior experience in comp sci, it's kind of hard to understand the lines of cheating and not cheating.
And not cheating and just throwing ideas, yeah.
'cause
Because
again,
we didn't know any better, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So that second time, so when he caught, he's like, "Oh, you guys got caught again." I'm like, "Oh, well, it's not cheating because I didn't give him a line of code. So like, I don't know how you can prove that, right?" So is it more of a he word or his word versus my word? And then my professor's like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna take you to academic court, like that." I don't know why they call it that, but it's so dumb. So he took us to academic court, and I guess in that sense, you have. I wouldn't say you have the dean of academics there, and then you have a trial of like other professors and like students too. So it was a mix of both, and you had to like support your case of why you didn't cheat and all that. So, my classmate and I, we prepared like a presentation. He prepared his, and then I don't know, dude. It was a wild ride because when we presented our case, at the end of the day, we didn't get in trouble for it, but like our professor got to chose his like punishment, right?
Yeah.
So and then here's where it gets even rougher. So our punishment for that was he would only count our midterm and our final, right, as the average, and then drop a letter grade after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's even worse because when you have to drop a letter grade after you take your averages. So I ended up like failing the class, and then my other classmate also ended up failing the class. But then after that point, I was like, well, comp sci, not for me at this point, because I think that kind of pushed me over the edge, right? Because like in the beginning, I thought coding was fun and all, right? And like, and then it just got more complicated. I was like, okay, so now it gets harder. But then when you have a professor that really is out to get you type of thing, that's when I was like, okay, I got to switch my major and do something else.
Well, I was going to say, keep in mind for the listener and the viewer too, when you talked about how like he dropped all your homeworks. Homework was 40% of your grade in that class.
Right.
And then the midterm was 30 and the final was 30.
30, yeah.
So, yeah. I mean,
just not having homework because I did every
and the homework was
assignment.
the easiest part.
Yeah.
So it was like, and it was still hard. I mean, I can't even remember getting 100 on any of the homework.
No.
You give us 5 coding challenges. Yep. If I got 4 done and got like an 80, I was like thrilled.
Yeah, because you're happy. And the thing is, like with coding, if you got it wrong because if the code didn't work. So if the code worked, you got it right.
Yeah.
But like, the homework helped so much, but not having that count kind of hit the bullet too.
But yeah, they were like harsh on freshmen because like, I just think of, I worked with kids, in that same class and I think about, just that same thing probably could have happened to me because there were plenty of times where I was like, oh, like, I used a for loop here,
Yeah.
And like
or
someone could have put the same
if
code,
then,
right?
if then statement. Like someone could solve it the same way as you, but you wouldn't be like, oh, I didn't cheat because I don't even know this person had the same line of code as me,
But yeah, like you said, it's just tough because like in coding, it's like there's pretty much an infinite way of like there's always like an infinite amount of solutions. Like there's so many ways
you could Google
can code the same problem
on GitHub and find that same line of code and it works, but it's more efficient. And I would rather use that than try to like dilly-dally because at the end of the day, right, in a actual job setting, you're just trying to make it work, right? You're trying the most efficient way for this code to work without having bugs in it, right?
That's what I was going to say. Now that I'm in the real world, I mean, I get lines of code off the internet all the time.
Yeah, because
it's so
it works.
funny in school. Like I get it. Like if you found like a teacher that gave the same problem and you just copy and pasted it word for word and just turned it in, like I could see that's a problem.
That's
you're
a
not
problem.
learning anything.
Yeah, you're not learning.
But like if you're one small part of the problem and you need to go get a line of code because you're just not really sure where you're going with it.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I guess some professors would probably disagree and be like, oh, you're not learning the points. But I mean, like, that's what it's going to be like in the real world anyway.
Because like in the real world, when you're getting that line of code, you have to figure out why that line of code works anyways, because you need to know why that code
Yeah,
that
it's
piece of code
funny
works.
because I'm trying to think. Yeah, at Stonehill, my third year, I actually I don't even know if I like talked much about this to you guys, but I almost got hit for like a cheating scandal too.
Oh, really?
So I was in like I'm a physics major. I'm taking like a gen ed English class. So for like STEM majors that realize like you have to take that like 101 English class. It's like
Yeah.
the biggest pain. And I had to like write a report on a book I did not read whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
And I wrote like a halfway decent report, and I got an email from the teacher that was like, red flags, plagiarism, come meet me. And I was like so scared.
Oh,
I was like,
Jesus
this is gonna
Christ.
screw things up.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to transfer to Notre Dame at the time, so I was like, well, I'm not gonna get in if I like if I have this on my record.
Yeah.
So I went there, and I was lucky enough that it was like an 8-page paper, and it was like my opening intro 4 sentences. I like kind of like basically just like reworded what I saw on like what are the sites like Spark Notes,
Spark
Cliff
Notes, yeah. Dude,
stuff
hey,
like-
Spark
so
Notes.
that's what I
though,
read.
Hey, shout out Spark Notes because that saved a lot of lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
It did.
So then like I got docked like a third of a letter grade, and I was
Yeah.
like, all right, I'll take that.
I'll take that. Yeah, might as well.
It's like-
I'll take that rather than be
Yeah.
like, okay, well, now you got caught for that.
But again,
so.
it's like it always depends on the professor you have.
No,
too,
of course,
you
yeah.
know?
So I was thinking, oh, if I had like a different professor, would he be as lenient? Maybe, I don't know. Like you just never know. But I think I don't know. It's just so blown out of proportion because why would it, as a professor, isn't that professor's job to really just help the student, right? Like why are you going
Yeah.
out of your way to make their lives miserable? Unless you like that.
Well,
Unless you're that
yeah.
type of professor that likes enjoying that doing it to kids.
And
but-
it's like if you're willing to put in the time, like you can sit these kids down one-on-one and
Yeah.
go through the individual cases and make judgment calls on, this
Yeah.
kid's just a goof and he's just
Oh.
cheating versus like someone who is like,
Yeah.
I honestly didn't really know what I was doing.
Yep.
Stuff
Have you
like
seen
that.
on Twitter that physics professor that's going around Twitter?
Oh, he's doing all like he was like the old guy
Doing
doing all
the
the
experiments.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. If we had him as a physics
Yeah.
professor, that'd be amazing because that guy loves his job. Like he's an older guy
Yeah.
and like he just loves it, like doing those experiments, loves teaching his students. And I'm like, all right, I wish you were my professor.
Yeah, and that's like something, as I went up through the public school system. You did too.
Yeah,
right?
yep.
Yeah. And sometimes you just get some tenured professors that just like do not care.
No,
They're
they
not-
don't.
they're
Yeah.
just, like, they really don't care.
Oh my God, I
They
remember
don't help at all.
In 8th grade, I had this science teacher. And like one of my classmates, he's like the class clown, right? And he just like took it so far to extreme in that class, and he got her like fired. I was like,
Yeah.
but she was a bad teacher though. Like she didn't like to teach at all, and
Yeah.
she would constantly yell at us too. Like I think professors that like yell constantly, you won't make it far because you just
Yeah.
well, like what are you instilling in these 13, 14-year-old kids? Like, oh, yelling works. It doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think there's not a lot of kids that like look back and they're like, oh, the teacher that inspired me the most growing up was the one that was screaming at me every day because like, didn't
Yeah.
have my homework in on time or whatever like that, It's always
No.
like the teacher that's, gives you that extra deadline
yeah.
extension or sits you down after a failed test and
Yep.
explains what you did wrong.
Yeah.
So stuff like that is, but no, we definitely had some pains of teachers there. I mean, some of the science professors were difficult too there because you took a couple like physics.
Oh yeah,
type, you know.
physics types class and
Yeah.
whatnot before I changed my major. But
Yeah,
yeah, dude, I wish like the labs though for physics was not just
yeah, they
you know,
weren't really labs.
they weren't labs. They was
It's
just
just review sessions. yeah.
instead of like let's do some wild experiment. Dude, I wish we did crazy experiments like I wish we blew up something. Or actually, that would be dangerous. But like in a controlled environment, I wish we blew up
Blow
something.
something.
I wish we built some crazy contraption.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if did you take physics in high school?
Yeah, so I took like one physics class in high
Okay.
school. Yeah.
So I got a story here, and I should have talked about it with my other friend because like he was on the episode, but like so I helped my friend physics class, right? So we had to do an experiment, no, not experiment. We had to like build stuff, right? So we built I helped my friend build a trebuchet. You know those the
No.
catapult.
Oh yeah.
The catapult thing. So I helped my friend like build that for his physics like project, and it was so bad. I don't know why we did this, but we took it to the parking lot, right? The high school parking lot, and we try to see. Okay, we gotta test this out, right? We gotta see if it works. So I don't know whose idea was it, but it was like me and my 3 friends, and so we got a beer bottle, right? And then we made a Molotov out of it, right? And then we put it on the catapult. Then we launched it into the parking lot with cars in the parking lot.
Goodness.
And we saw it. I wish I had the video of it, but I don't know where it is. But we launched it, exploded in the parking lot, shattered glass everywhere, fire everywhere. And I was like, well, I'm glad we didn't hit a car because that would have been bad. But that was a crazy science, experiment thing. So I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, the ones I remember from high school really were like the classic, like, make a container for an egg and then drop the container and see if you can like keep the egg from breaking. Do you ever have to do something like that?
Wait, so have the egg in a container?
Yeah, so you get an egg and you'd have to make some kind of box container thing that you could drop and see if you could keep the egg from cracking.
I remember that one.
So like I remember like making this like almost using like I don't even know what the toys are called, but little like connector pieces and make like a hollowed out cube and then had like rubber bands just supporting the egg in the middle so it could kind of, I know for people listening, it could kind of bounce up and down a little bit without like breaking. And I remember like we did pretty well with that. I remember when I was like really young, we did like a make your own kite thing and see like whose kite could like. Yeah. And then the last one was like building like a bridge out of like popsicle sticks and seeing how much weight it could hold.
I did that one.
Yeah, that one was like really a ton of fun.
Dude, there was so many fun like little experiments we did back then that I wish we could do like as adults because we can make it on a bigger scale and just do like way more crazier stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, when I got to like higher level physics classes, Mike Horn, which I don't know if you heard, he passed away recently.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He's a Horn Zimmerman theorem you can look up. Great physics teacher.
Yeah, this guy
had jobs, offers from Ivy League schools.
He won
and
so many awards, and I was surprised. When I did take I think I was in one of his labs. Like he explains everything so like fluently and like just seamlessly explain everything. I was like, wow, I wish my professors explained it like that way, but he just like he was just doing this as a fun. Like
he really was, and he could have easily retired, and he had job offers from Ivy League schools, and was kind of like, I want to relax, I want to just
chill.
These Ivy League schools, they want my syllabus and they want it updated every semester. At Stonehill, they kind of let me do my own thing.
Yeah, and he literally did his own thing.
Yeah, and he did, and he was a great teacher. And I remember doing some experiments in the higher level, physics classes with like the Michelson interferometers, you like shoot laser beams.
Oh my god, dude, that must
like,
be
like little mirrors and stuff. So it was like cool. Physics was it was an interesting major because it was like when I was 18, I knew I was doing this whole dual degree, and I kind of was just doing the physics part to get to the engineering part. I always knew I wanted to be an engineer, but I was kind of dreading having to do physics because I was like, I'm not really even sure if I like it. But I got the right professors, and
that's the thing
really
too. I feel like
a love for it.
I feel like internships do play a huge part because I feel like if you don't. This is my advice for like people who are about like that stage of like junior year or like sophomore year of college, that internships, you should try to do as many as you can, because if you don't do internships, you don't know what you're gonna like, right? So like for my example, when I went to New York for the semester and did like a film internship, if I never did that, I probably would have been stuck not knowing what the hell I want to do with my life, right? Because that's where I found my passion for video and photography. And if I never did that internship, I wouldn't have known.
Yeah,
right?
Or even just doing like research. If you can find a professor at your school and you can kind of like work with them and stuff, is always like a good way to get going and really discover your passions and stuff. And I mean, I'll be honest, that was kind of one of my regrets, is I never did kind of like research with a professor, because I never had like a physics-based internship. My first internship was when I went off to Notre Dame, and then I got one in engineering. I was a commissioning engineer, so I basically just go test equipment once it was already shipped and made sure it was like working fine. But I mean, I worked at a liquor store all through high school and college, and that was kind of, but I definitely think getting like an internship, like it's tough when you're an underclassman.
Oh, of course, But the thing is, like
like good,
with your job in that liquor store, you learn from that experience as well, right? Like for me, like I take experiences from all the jobs I had when I was in high school and college.
Well, yeah, the liquor store was funny because I grew up, I had like social anxiety. I had trouble talking to strangers and large crowds of people. And I remember like, when I turned 18 in Mass, you obviously be 21 to drink, but 18 to sell. My dad was like, I had a neighbor up the street who owned a chain of liquor stores, and my dad was like, you should go work there. And I was like, that's not gonna work. Like, I can't look a stranger in the eye. Like, I'm so like timid, and it like taught me so much though about, because you had to deal with some real crazies where I was too.
For sure.
I mean, like where I worked, we literally had people coming in on the last Friday of the month and using like their like, I don't know if it's like food stamps, but it was like a welfare card, and they were literally buying booze with it. And I would like swipe it thinking like there's no way this is going to work, but like it just would. And they like literally, so like and then, but it was it was a pretty good experience for just like
for sure.
dealing with people. No matter what job you get, you're going to have to deal with like, a lot of people,
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. But actually, I do want to dive into like a story that you have from there. But before that, we're gonna take a quick short break. And we are back with the second half of the podcast. Welcome back, Rozy.
Thanks, Tom. Having so much fun right now.
Dude, we're cruising by right now, and
it blows by.
It does, yeah.
It's
so
fun.
But before the break, we left off on so you worked at a liquor store, right?
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you have any. You were talking about like, there's some crazy stories that you have because you have all different kinds of people that come in, right?
Yeah. So like the chain that I worked at, we had like, I think it was like 6 or 7 stores, and like 3 of them are in like really nice areas, and you just kind of get your upper middle class, kind of average people there. But then the other 3 are in, kind of, I guess like the projects kind of, yeah. There was one right up, that I worked at right near like, developmental housing, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, we had some crazy stories. I mean, there was one time when I first started working there, and guy came up to me and he wanted to buy one of those tall boys of Natty Daddy, the 24-ounce cans. And so there was one left, and it had like a big dent in it. And I was like, I can't sell that to you. I said, here, pick out any tall boy, Corona, like any of the nicer ones. I'll give it to you for the same price, which it's pretty fair.
That's a good
go
deal.
Back and get like a Red's Apple Ale, Twisted Tea, which are more expensive, and you get it for the same price as the Natty Daddy. So I said, even if you want 2 or 3, go ahead, I'll give them to you, at that cost. And he was already drunk. It was probably 10 a.m. and he's already hammered. And he's yelling at me, "No, I want my Natty Daddy." And I was like, "Well, you could just get a better one." So finally he finally goes and he buys I think he got like Corona or something, and I gave it to him for the price of the Natty Daddy. And 5 minutes later, he walks out. Somebody walks in, and they go, someone's like literally ramming someone's car into a dumpster right now. So I guess the guy got in the car and figured he was all mad he didn't get his Natty Daddy, and he thought it was like my car, so he backed into the car and hit the dumpster. Joke was on him, it was my boss's car. So it really didn't. Yeah, so my boss had to deal with it, and he was all mad. And so then the cops, the guy, luckily the bystander got his license plate. So
that's good.
He was like write it down quick before I forget it. And we got his license plate. So the cops go to the house, and it's like an 85-year-old woman who got her car stolen. So like they had no way of tracking this guy down. So
that's actually some very.
I had stories like that. I had other stories too. Like we had to close up right at 11 on Saturdays. It was like very strict. Cops would come by at 11:01, make sure you weren't selling a drop of liquor to anybody. And had times where I'd close up the store at like 10:59 just to be safe, and like people would be banging on the doors, and like I'd have to have like the police come by. I'd have to call them and be like, hey, like when you guys do your like stroll by here, can you just like get this person out of here, because they're like literally out there threatening me.
Wait, when you say like they were banging on the door, it's like that Eric Andre meme, like, let me
yeah, pretty much, yeah, that's exactly, yeah. And yeah, no, we even had one time I wasn't working, but someone literally, we had like glass doors, and like kicked the bottom of the glass door. And
Jesus.
so
dude.
yeah, no, we had some pretty crazy stuff. We had people come from, we had a sober home like down the street from the liquor store. People would come in and be like, oh, like if someone comes in asking for me, like, you know, don't tell them I was here. And I would be like, I don't know you.
Well, why would I know you?
Yeah, it's like, you know, they'd say, oh, have you seen Marshall in here? I'd be like, I don't know Mark, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, it was crazy, but like I said, I mean, it was definitely built character. You know,
for sure. You've seen some shit.
Yeah,
you know?
and coming from, you know, a middle class community, you know, you see stuff like that, but until you really experience it, it's hard to you know, kind of empathize or kind of understand what's going on, because you see some stuff that you'd think you'd only see on TV.
But you actually see it in real life. Yeah, actually, going back to that, like, did you grow up in a like decent neighborhood, or was it?
Yeah, so I mean, I was born in Marlboro, which was the town I worked in, and there, Marlboro's kind of a city. It's like 80,000 people, I think, in like Marlboro. It's like a lot of people. So there's good parts and bad parts. But we were, when I was like really young, like a baby, we lived in kind of one of the, I guess you could say, middle parts. It wasn't one of the nicer, it wasn't one of the worst ones. But my parents wanted to get us to a better school system, and we literally moved like 5 minutes down the road just across the town border, so that then I could
go to the other
nicer school. So I grew up in a really nice area, but yeah, no, so I was kind of like blind to a lot of that stuff.
Okay,
growing
so
up.
it wasn't diverse, right?
Well, like, yeah, where I grew up was not super diverse. Where I worked was absolutely, you know, definitely diverse. It was a lot of like Brazilian people lived there, like a lot of Portuguese. So you definitely got a lot of Spanish speakers.
Okay.
But yeah.
But that was like from there, but like through like middle school. I mean, elementary, middle school, high school. Did you like have any?
Yeah, I mean, not really. We, you know, my middle school, high school was you know, pretty, I mean, mostly white, you know, middle class, upper middle class. You know, so I mean, not a ton. I mean, I guess the bigger things from my hometown is, I mean, I guess we have like one MLB athlete there from like the 80s.
Sick.
He's a pitcher, Mark Fidrich. You can look him up. He was famous for yelling at the baseball. He used to like get mad and he'd yell at the baseball when he wasn't doing well. But yeah, no, I mean, you know, very small town. My town was like 8,000 people. Okay. So it was,
wait, so am I your first Asian friend?
Ooh. You might be, honestly.
Dude.
You might be.
Let's
I'm
go.
trying to think back, though.
Number one.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, off the top of my head, I feel bad if I'm missing anybody.
That would suck,
really,
you know? Yeah, because like for me, I grew up in, again, my hometown, you know, it's just very dominantly like a white people town, right? And it wasn't until, you know, middle school, high school is when I started noticing more diversity, but there wasn't a lot of us, like, you know, like of other Asians or other blacks or other Hispanics, right? And then obviously college, Stonehill, pretty white. So
it's pretty white.
But I did see a higher percentage of, you know, more diverse. But the thing is, like, I think for me, you know, I don't regret going to Stonehill or anything like that, but I kind of wish I just like had more Asian friends, right? Or like, you know, in real life, you know, that type of thing. Because like, I feel like I can't associate, well, not a lot of people can relate to my culture or anything like that. But the thing is, like, when I visited, right, like other schools, like in the city that had just a dense population of like Asian kids, I was like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable here, you know, like that type of thing. And that's why I didn't want to be in that Asian bubble. And that's why I wanted to like go somewhere else. But looking back at it, I was like, oh, maybe I should just like immerse myself into that. But then again, you know, I met a lot of people online, right, through Discord. Dude, Discord is a godsend.
Yeah.
Like, you've used Discord before too, but I met so many online friends, and most of them are Asian, so I can relate to them on that level. But yeah, I don't know. I just like grew up just not having that many diverse friends. But I'm glad I still met you guys, though, right? You guys are all chill, and like I love you guys to death and all that. But
yeah, no, it's an interesting take. I'll be honest, like I think Stonehill might have even been more diverse than Notre Dame. I mean, I went out there. It's
geez.
I will say though, there were decent amount of like Asian kids there, you know, absolutely. But I mean, you know, Stonehill at least had, I don't know. I mean, maybe it was just, I mean, Stonehill was pretty predominantly white. I feel like I had a lot of like diverse friends, you know, there, you know, hang out with Jalad still.
Yeah.
You know, you know,
hey, shout out to Jalad, dude. San Diego.
I know, right? Yeah, check him out if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I went out to Notre Dame. I was appalled. I thought it was going to be a lot more diverse than it was, but I guess, you know.
You just fit right in.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Actually, speaking of like different stereotypes, isn't it ironic? Well, not ironic, but it's interesting seeing like, hey, you're one white male, but you're wicked smart, right? Way smarter than me, Asian male. Not as smart in that sense, right? Like I hate math, I hate numbers, I don't fit that stereotype, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, if I did, bro, I'd be shitting on people. Like, no offense, like
Yeah.
I'd just be like, hey, I'm better than you in math,
Yeah.
like, but I don't fit that stereotype, right? And I'm more in the creative, like art side, whereas you're a STEM, like, right? Like, don't you get that stereotype too?
Yeah, I
Like,
was just gonna say one thing that's like kind of cool is like, you know, I feel like sometimes like the Asian community kind of gets like ripped on, especially like in the engineering world. Like the Asians and Indians are all like, oh, they're like aren't creative enough and they're too by the book. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like I know plenty of Asian kids, Indian kids that are way more creative.
Yeah, in the
than
creative
me,
side,
you know,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
that
the
are
thing,
like
yeah.
really, you know,
Yep.
you know, really cultured and
Yep.
you know, well versed and all that stuff.
Because
So
I feel like, you
it's-
know, I don't know if you got on that stereotype. Is like, oh, I see you as like a comedian, like, you know, somebody who's like
Yeah.
crack jokes, you know,
Yeah,
like that type
yeah.
of thing. Yeah. But then
Yeah.
they find out like, oh shit, he's actually
Oh,
stupid
yeah.
smart.
I get that a lot. Just the way I, you know, I mean, I usually am not the nicest dresser. The way I present myself, I like that. You know, I like to party on the weekends and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, you definitely get that kind of stereotype of like this kid's a goofball, he's a blockhead.
Dude, and then when you bring out your Harry Potter glasses, he's not wearing it now, but
but
when he brings out his
Yeah.
Harry Potter glasses, you're like, whoa, this
only
kid.
on special occasions, right?
Oh man, but yeah, like I feel like stereotypes, that could be a whole like episode in itself. But yeah, it's just interesting. Like I just noticed that now. I'm like, oh, Rozy, you know, doesn't fit that regular like that stereotype that people think of, and then I don't fit that stereotype that people think of. So I think that's like super interesting.
Yeah, when I went to college too, I feel like there was I learned a lot about like when I was like growing up, I had trouble like understanding like that subconscious racism when like people aren't trying to be racist but like they just like are a little like
Microaggressions.
yeah, microaggressions. Yeah, things like, oh, like, you know, I'm gonna go step to the other side of the road because this guy's got a darker skin color, like stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
I had so much trouble understanding it, and then I really started to understand it, you know, when I started working at that liquor store, because it was just like you deal with people like that every day, and you just see the way other people would like interact with them, and you'd start to be like, okay, like I guess like when I got like, because like I said, I grew up predominantly white area. When I started being more comfortable around diverse groups, it helped me see the microaggressions from like other white people, because
Yeah.
I was like, okay, like I wouldn't, like that's weird, he's
That's
acting
weird.
like
Yep.
that, whereas
Yeah.
like before I'd be like, I don't see any, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it was a good experience. And I don't know, I mean, Stonehill wasn't very diverse, but like I said, I mean, for the small liberal arts school in, you know, Southern Mass, you know, I think they do an all right job.
It's all right
you know?
job, yeah, of like, you know, bringing in more diverse, you know, like students and whatnot, and making them feel safe on campus. You
Yeah,
know?
it seems like they have
Yeah.
plenty of clubs and
Yeah,
groups and
but
everything.
would I
yeah.
say, oh, you know, I didn't experience racism on campus? No, I did. You know, like
Yeah.
here and there, but it's not as bad. You know,
Yeah.
and the thing is, like for me, I have a pretty thick skin, right? Like you have to go so
Yeah.
extreme, right? Dude, the amount of like jokes that like I've learned.
We had to have thick skin.
No,
when
that's
we
what I'm
lived
saying.
Freshman year.
Yeah,
you
we've
know?
had
yeah.
that thick skin, and things like for me, it takes a lot for people to get under my skin, and like I know when you're being serious about being racist, right? Like I know that type of thing, but
Yeah.
I know if you're joking about it, then I was like, oh, they're joking, because I know it. You know?
Yeah, and then the other thing too is like we're from like the Boston area, which is like kind of
Bro.
like, you know,
It's pretty bad.
infamous for, you know, and that was another thing is like I always like I remember I have a really close friend of mine from high school. He moved from Maryland, and when he came up here, you know, he lived here for a year, and we were friends. And he'd always complain like, the kids here are so mean. The kids here, the jokes, like the things you guys joke about are messed up. Like, you know, there's like racism. There's like
very
different
dark
stuff.
humor,
And I used to
yeah.
be like, because like when you grow up in Mass, this is just like your life. This is how
Yeah.
you're born, raised. But going out to the Midwest and like meeting kids out
Oh,
there, and I was
right.
like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
people are really a lot nicer in other parts of the country. Like I really thought it was like BS that like, you know, Boston's like this kind of like rough around the edges place. And I do think people over exaggerate it because they like to bring up like the Bill Russell days, but it's
Oh,
like the whole
jeez.
country was had a problem back then. You
Yeah.
know, it wasn't, but yeah, it's definitely like people are cold here, man. You gotta
That's what
have
I'm
some
saying.
thick skin.
Yeah, because
you
when I
know?
went out to, you know, California, like the couple times I went like this past year,
Mhm.
dude, people are just, it's such a different atmosphere out there, and
Yeah.
compared to back home. And I was like, okay, I'm glad I was kind of raised in the Northeast, because that just made me have a tougher skin. And so when I go out there, I can handle anything. Like
Yeah.
whatever people throw at me, I'm like, I've heard worse.
That is the funny thing is like, yeah, you're from Boston, you go somewhere else, and yeah, they're making fun of you, and
Bro,
you're like,
it's like,
yeah,
okay, buddy.
heard
All
that
right,
one
yeah, I
before,
heard that
yeah.
one before when I was in my diapers still.
Yeah. But then there's like that line too where like every once in a while something pops in my head and I'm like, yeah, this probably ain't the right crowd for that joke. You know? And it's nothing like nothing way over the top, but just some of the edgier stuff.
Because there's some things in my mind I'm like, oh, when I think I'm like, oh, can I say this? Oh, no, I can't say this in this type of crowd because it wouldn't make
Yeah. And it's tough because you sit there and you say something like that and they're like, oh, so you're racist or you're sexist or like, but like, I don't know, there are just edgier jokes in general that just like don't, for some people they're not over the top, over the line.
Do you think in 2020 people will be less soft or more soft, do you think?
Dude, it's tough because I mean it definitely gets into politics now when you think about that. And this upcoming election and everything, and it's tough because it's like, for me, I think that no matter who's president or whatever, like a lot of this like institutionalized racism is just like not going to get a whole lot better.
Yeah,
and
because
it's disappointing, but yeah, I mean, I think that we're gonna try to get more PC. What bothers me about like a lot of the PC movement is that like we're trying to fix people's languages when we have like the way they talk and stuff, when like we have like bigger issues with like
no, that's what I'm saying, because
like
dude, there are things like we can't even I think I was talking with my friend about this I wouldn't say within the week or so, right? Like you know like the R word, like we can't, I don't know if I even want to say it, but like it's just you can't, it's frowned upon, right? Like I remember back then when we were in middle school, people say that all the time, but we didn't mean it in that way towards those people, right? When you call that, because isn't the medical term still like,
I mean like the word, I'll say it, the word retarded, if you look it up in the dictionary, is just something that's hindered. So I remember, so when I was a kid, my mom's uncle, so he's like my great uncle, he had Down syndrome, and like when my parents would like be in groups with their friends, they say like, oh, my uncle is like mentally retarded,
but
like
I'm pretty sure that's
hindered.
That's a medical term, I feel
it is like, so like it was weird, growing up. I don't know if you saw, there's Janoris Jenkins on the New York Giants. He just got released because he was tweeting out the R word, and
recently or just like back
fans
then?
Fans were chirping him on Twitter, and he was calling them that.
Oh geez.
And the Giants literally like, you're gone, you're out. But yeah, it is weird. We I think our generation's been in, there's a couple words that and I think there's the F word for that, LGBTQ community. Yeah, that was like stuff like you'd say to, like, I don't know.
But back then we didn't even like mean it towards derogatory. It didn't have a derogatory sense. But like nowadays, you just can't say it.
But I mean, and don't get me wrong, I do think like the language, like in some of the way people talk nowadays, definitely is an issue. But at the same time, there are some bigger things that I'd prefer we try to get to first before we start getting to that stuff. But
well, we'll see what happens. But I think 2020, hopefully, watch like, I don't know what other
I hope we can just become more moderate in 2020, and just a little more like understanding of all sides of everything, and trying to just when people make small, recognizing when someone's made like an honest mistake that they are really apologetic for, versus someone who has mean intentions and is trying to hurt someone through what they're saying. Do
you imagine 2020 we can't say the word boobs?
Titties. But
oh my god, that would be messed up. But no, I get what you're saying, and I just hope 2020 brings less.
I just hope everyone's happier. Nobody seems happy right now.
No, that's the thing.
Know what I mean? Like,
and the thing is, I think I said this plenty of times before on the podcast, but I don't have time to waste my energy on being negative, right? Like, even obviously when you respond to trolls and all that too, like that's still like a little negative, but for me, I just don't have time to be negative, right? I'd rather focus on being, positive and supporting my friends in like whatever they do, right? And for me, getting feedback on this podcast has been great so far, and everyone's like loving it and whatnot. But yeah, dude, I just don't have time. Like, dude, the people that take, what's crazy? The people that take the time to watch a video, right? They watch it, make a negative comment about the video, but you watched the whole video then.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't that blow your mind? Like
Yeah.
they made like, oh, why are you doing this in this video? I'm like, dude, you watched the whole video. Like
Yeah.
what?
It's like an hour-long video, and they're like, yeah, at like 58:05.
Oh my god,
You like sneezed into the mic, and now the whole video's ruined
Dude,
for
the
me. It's like, you
exact
sat
time-
through and watched the whole hour.
yeah, when they put a timestamp,
Yeah.
that blows my mind. I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa, you actually
Yeah.
really watched the video.
Yeah, like you were
And-
really into it. Yeah,
But,
exactly.
dude, that's just I don't have time to be negative. But actually, speaking of positive things, so you have relationships still, right?
Yeah, so met my girlfriend Kristen my first year at Stonehill, literally like,
Hi, Kristen.
yeah, hello Kristen. Hi, beautiful. Yeah, so yeah, we met like probably 2 months. Well, we met like the first week we were there. We
Yeah.
started dating
Very
like
early.
2-3 months later. But yeah, we just recently had our 5-year anniversary at the end of October.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
And yeah, I mean, we went through thick and thin. We did, I was there at Stonehill for 3 years, and then I left for Notre Dame, so we did 2 years of long distance.
So you went
which
went through it all, like in 5 years.
Yeah.
This man has like went through it all.
Yeah, so and that was something I was not very eager to do, and definitely had second thoughts about doing, but toughed it out, and definitely like very happy that I
think
toughed it out,
that makes your relationship stronger because like after
Yeah.
like going through we're together for this long, and then now we do long distance for this long, and I feel like that makes you grow as a couple.
Yeah, and I had my doubts at first, but my thought going out to Notre Dame was kind of like, well, like this may be just like the kind of test of like, will this really work? Because I like in high school I didn't have like any girlfriends, like
Yeah.
I didn't have like anybody I dated for more than like a month or
Yep.
two at a time.
Yeah.
So, when I got to Kristen, it was weird. I mean, we had been dating for 3 years. I was like moving halfway across the country, and I was kind of like, well, I don't even know what it really means to be in a serious relationship, but if we get through this, I know for a fact I'm in one.
Yeah,
you know what I
you'd
mean?
be like, oh, yeah,
'cause,
I've
like,
conquered some
you
shit.
just
Yeah.
don't stick it out that long through all that, and
Yeah.
it has its stresses, but distance relationships nowadays I think are so much easier with FaceTime and,
Yep.
and technology.
You can contact them any
Yeah.
way. How I can't
Yeah.
imagine like back then, like when it was long distance, like I'm gonna send you a letter.
Yeah, a letter.
Just
Or,
a
like,
letter.
Yeah, like a payphone. I don't even know,
Yeah.
man. I saw like a thing on Twitter the other day where like this woman was like, "Yeah, my kid just asked me why people use the term hang up the phone. Like what what does
my.
hang up mean, Because like
Oh,
the kid's just
God.
like, "Oh, you hit the red end button."
That's it.
And it's kind of funny, like you think like 30 years from now, like I can't imagine there's gonna be a lot of landlines left.
No,
right?
yeah,
and like
or,
people
like-
are gonna be like, why do they call it hang up?
Yeah,
you
or a
know?
kid's gonna be like, "What's this red end button mean?" Like 30
Yeah.
years from now, they're gonna be saying
Yeah.
that. I'm like, whoa.
But yeah, no, I mean technology's definitely made the whole distance thing a lot more doable,
Yeah.
a lot easier. But it still takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And because there are days like there were days at Notre Dame where like I didn't want to talk to her just because like I missed her, and it
Mhm.
was like I don't want to see your face on FaceTime because it bother me that like
yeah,
I'm not
Bec-
home,
because
you
like
know?
the thing is like physical. There's no physical touch.
Yeah, no, and
Yeah.
and yeah, at our age, that's definitely like the
Yep.
hardest part of the distance is
Yeah.
like the lack of sex, just
Yep.
getting all that. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean it God, lost my train of thought for a second.
yeah.
But
Sex.
yeah,
just
I mean,
came in
point
and,
being,
like-
yeah, I mean, yeah. Oh yeah, I was saying that the days where I like almost didn't want to FaceTime because I was like, oh, I'm gonna miss you. But you fight through it, and like I said, we're living together now, and
yeah.
it's
Dude,
working out really well.
Yeah, 5 years, dude. That's I can't imagine that because for me, with my like last relationship, like my ex and I were dating like for almost a year, but then like we ended and all. But I just can't imagine like going like 5 years of like that, and I feel like for me. I don't know, like what I want, like, do I miss being in a relationship? Yeah, like, I miss like, the whole, doing stuff together, physical touch, like all that stuff too. But for me, I'm just doing my own, like I'm doing my own thing. And I feel like with, yours and Kristen's dynamic, like you guys have already learned that like, oh, you can do your thing, right? You have your own time
Yeah.
and then she has her own time. But then when you're together, then you do stuff together,
Yeah, and just like relationships at our age in general are so tough because like there's so much change going on in our lives right now,
Yeah.
like from college to jobs and you know, like if you were going to take a risk and move across the country, you're going to do it when you're young, not when you're 40 with kids. So, you know, with a lot of like transition going on, this is definitely like one of the tougher times to keep a long-term serious relationship. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's another key is what you said, is making sure you do have your own life. You know, I saw some quote, I'm going to butcher it, from Will Smith, and he just talked a little bit, though, about how, you know, when you're in a relationship and it's healthy, like, you just shouldn't feel like your job is to make the other person happy. You should both be happy on your own, and then be able to come together and talk about your happiness together.
I agree.
You know, and like that's, you know, like you should be able to make yourself happy before you get into any kind of relationship.
Before you try to make somebody else happy.
Yeah, you just can't be putting that kind of responsibility and burden on your you know, significant other, you know, to be the sole thing of making you happy, you know.
I agree. And I'm about to throw like a wild question at you right now, but you know, the big M word, you know, like marriage, or like the K word, kids, right? Obviously, you know, we won't know like way down the line. Like, you know, for me, I know I don't want to have kids or get married until way later, right? But, you know, can you see like yourself having kids and being married one day, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely. Like, you know, I mean, I don't know. I guess it like depends where you grow up, but like where I grew up, where it's, you know, like that, like, you know, like I said, middle to upper middle class and stuff, and like you see, like, you're so accustomed to families, it's hard. Like, I can't lie, I'm not gonna lie and say I've never pictured myself married with kids, you know, like teaching my son to play baseball and all that cool stuff, and teaching my son to play Fortnite, you know. But yeah, no, I mean, you know, I think that the big thing for just like it's kind of a, because I have friends that are like got married in college, right?
I was saying we have some friends that are getting married or having kids.
Yeah,
you know,
I had one of my friends at Notre Dame was literally having a kid right around graduation, his first kid, right? So, you know, like, and I don't think it's that bad. I mean, I think in my personal situation, financial burdens come into play. There's a lot of student loan debt and stuff like that. So it like the M word is like pretty far out until we figure.
Because the thing is, I noticed a lot too. Like I saw on Twitter as well, but like a lot of people just getting married like way like later in life because again financial burdens, like you said, and dude, people just don't have time like for that type of thing. And again, it's just even more costly getting married as well too.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, you know, for student loan debt, you know, like you marry someone and they start defaulting, you know, it'll go to their co-signers, but then it can fall on you because you're like kind of financially responsible for each other. So that's kind of the complications with it all. And I've always been, you know, so my family marriages have not, my mother and father have been happily married for, I think, like around 30 years, but most of my family, you know, aunts, uncles, all end in divorce. I've seen a lot of messy stuff. A lot of times where like, you know, can't even be in the same room together. So, you know, I think I get a little timid around the idea of marriage for that reason too.
Dude, it's just a piece of paper.
Yeah, and like I'm a big believer in like why do I need a whole wedding to prove that I like love this girl person, and I want to spend my life with them when I could just actually love them and spend my life with them.
Yeah, you don't,
like,
you
I
don't
don't need the marriage, but you know, like I know in the case, you know, like my girlfriend, you know, really likes the idea of having that big wedding day and being able to, you know, and I understand that,
I feel like for
you know,
family's
to be able to,
because in my case, you know, my family, again, Asian culture, like, oh, we'll probably have like a wedding. Oh, they want grandkids. And I'm like, yeah, see, like I feel like as I get older, again, maybe it's just me, but I don't know, unless like a life experience happens, but you know, having kids or getting married, like it's just not on my mind, you know, and they're always wondering like, oh, are you gonna get married or have a kid soon? I'm like, well, one, I need to get married first, but like, you know, like it's just,
it's a tough, you know, it's definitely, there's like a generational gap because like our parents could like graduate college with like no debt, and then like you could just get married.
Yeah,
and, like,
that's what I'm saying.
Like as long as you,
my mom had me when she was like 20. Like in her young, like early 20s, you know, like that's crazy to think about. I'm like, yeah, like for me being a dad now, I'm like, no.
But again, it's just like so different, you know, and you really, like I said, you know, I think you know, it goes back to kind of the Will Smith thing. I think in any relationship you have, whether it be you and a significant other or you and you want to have kids one day, you need to make sure before you get into new relationships, you know, like I said, whether it be with a significant other
Yeah.
or having kids, you need to make sure you can make yourself happy first, you know. Because if you're gonna put that burden on, you know, another person, it's just not gonna work.
That's
you
not
know?
fair. Yeah,
it's
to
never
them.
gonna work, you know.
But yeah, but hey, I'm happy for like both of you guys are growing strong. I can't believe I was there like since the beginning. Like that's crazy. Because like I feel like for a lot of relationships, like my other friends too, I was like, yo, I remember I was literally there since it first started, right? Like just the fruition of it happening. But yeah, I'm glad you guys
all
are.
the awkward beginnings of the you know, dates at the school calf and stuff like that. Yeah, it's funny because like we still like anytime like someone's like, oh, like what was your first date? Like she just likes to bring up that it was like at the hill, you know, the school calf, and like you know, like I consider the first date like the first time we actually like went off campus into Boston. And I remember I took her to like a Celtics game and they played the Cavs back when they had LeBron, Kyrie, and Kalo. Yeah, it was a sick team. That was more like we went out to dinner and I was like, you want to go to this basketball game? Because I really want to go see LeBron right now.
I want to see LeBron. Like, just go to town.
But yeah, no, I mean, you know, it's been great, you know, and no complaints, and
that's awesome.
You know,
yeah, I definitely gotta have Kristen on at some point. But yeah, dude, let's wrap this up because again, hour goes by quick as always. But where can they find you on what do you use most?
Boy.
Like, yeah,
so,
what social
I
media?
mean, I guess I use Twitter the most.
Yeah.
Most of my stuff is like retweeting Rick and Morty stuff, but which we didn't get to. But yeah, at mrozy16, so at MROZY16. Can find me there on Twitter.
Yeah.
Just a lot of like retweeting content.
Spread
for the most
some Rick
part.
and Morty love.
Yeah, throw out the occasional tweet, you know, you know, when I'm feeling it. But yeah, no.
Nice.
That's pretty much where you'll find me now.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and you guys can obviously find us on Twitter and Instagram at allvanallday. And you guys can find us on all the social platforms of Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, all those. You know, make sure you give us a 5-star rating because, you know, that gets us noticed more on iTunes, you know. So definitely leave a review, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.